everyone, so today I wanted to make a video showing you all how I create printable planners on Microsoft Word as well as Photoshop. So first, with Microsoft Word, there are multiple layouts that you can use. This one's just a 5-day planner. So I first always go into layout and change the margins to the narrow option, which is just a 1/2 inch all the way around. So to get started, I go to the Insert tab, and at the top, I go over to the text and text box. I chose the font Daydreamer, which can be found on dafont.com. I will link it below. And I put the size to about 70, 72. Next, I go to Insert Shape and go down under the rectangles and click on the second option titled Round Rectangle. I don't worry about dragging down the shape to the size I want quite yet. I'll just click it and place it and go to the width and height manually in a second. But before I do that, I make sure that the fill on the rectangle is blank and that the stroke around it or the border is either black or whatever color I want it to be. And I just added a dash stroke around it as well. So for the size, I have the height as 3.36 inches and the width as 1.54 inches. I then just place it where I think it will look good and copy and paste it 4 separate times to give a slot for each day of the week. At this point, you sort of have to mess around with it so they all fit and they're all centered. And occasionally, I will open up the print preview just to make sure that what I have done is staying inside of the margins and nothing will be lost once I print it. So this next step is totally up to you. You can insert a text box above each of the boxes/days that you have just created. You do this just by creating a text box and you can put whatever you want above it. So once you have finished all of this, you are pretty much going to just be repeating the same steps of inserting the text. So this is totally up to you what you want to title each of your text boxes. I chose to title them chores and then the other one goals. But that is the fun part about making your own printable. You get to choose. I am using the same size font that I was using before, which is 72, as well as the same options for the box. The only thing that's different is the size of the 2 boxes. But what I want to say about this is another part that you do not have to follow what I'm saying word for word or step by step. You can totally create the boxes however you want or the titles however you want, and that's the fun part about making a printable yourself. So for the boxes, for the sizes anyways, I have the height as 2.55 inches and then the width as 3.99 inches. I will put that down below. I then just copy and paste the first box and center it and check the print preview once again so to make sure that nothing is getting cut off. And for the very last thing that I do is just add one last text box to the very bottom. I just put everything else as the title as that, but that's totally up to you. You can put whatever you want there. And the only other thing that I will say for these boxes, you can, if you want, add lines into them. I'm not a huge fan of that because it kind of limits me and my handwriting's really big. But you can just add a text box into it and press down your shift key with the underline or dash key on your keyboard and it will make lines. So that's totally up to you if you want to do that. And there you have it. That is how you create a printable on Microsoft Word, and you print it out and you are all set. Alright, so next is how to create a printable in Photoshop. I love using Photoshop mostly just because it gives me more ways to be creative. So I open up a new file and select US paper as the document type. You will see that this just puts the height and width to the standard 8x11 piece of paper. For this printable, I am using 2 really pretty colors. I will put the code for both of them down in the description. The first one is this really pretty gray, and the second one is a really pretty Tiffany blue color. I chose the font Bakery that I found on dafont.com, which I will also link down below. And for the size, I chose to put it at about 80. Next, I decided on where I wanted each thing to go. I kind of didn't know how I wanted to do this at first, but I chose to put the title as Things to Do / Weekly Planner so it would fill up the whole thing. Sometimes I will make it so that when I print it out, I can write in the date, but I decided not to do that this time around. But for the next thing, I decided to put the homework in the top left and just adjusted the font down to a smaller size. I think I put it at about 30 or 40, I can't remember. I kind of just like messed around with it. And I then changed the color to the gray, and I just went to the next step into creating the box. So how to create a shape on Photoshop. So I just go down to the left and grab the rectangle shape option and just pull it out to what size I want it to be. For this, I made the width as 1077 pixels and the height as 723 pixels. As you can see, it originally had a dash stroke around it when I made it, but I chose to change that to small little dots, and you can do that with Photoshop. There's so many different options, and it is pretty much endless of what you can do. So the only thing that I do want to say real quick is ignore the color that I'm making these boxes in, because I ended up changing it all in the end to the Tiffany blue. So just ignore that. So with the next thing, next to the homework box, I decided that I wanted to create a checklist where I could cross out items on my to-do list. So to create something like that, I just took the rectangle option again and made little squares that measured 141 in width and 138 pixels in height. And I just made the stroke around it 1 point so that it wouldn't be too thick, and I just made it a solid dash. That did not make sense, a solid dash. You know what I mean. So I took these and I duplicated them so that I would have 5 of these little boxes, and I just spaced them out. The awesome thing about Photoshop is that there are these little red / I don't know, pink lines that pop up everywhere when you're moving things around that measure the distance between everything so you can stay consistent. So that's really nice. Also, I want to say real quick is, since I'm making so many of these little boxes and you want to be able to move them all around together, I created a little folder for them, and you can do that in the layer section, and it's at the bottom. There is an option, it's like a little folder, and you click it and you can just throw all of the squares into that so that you can move them all at once. So the next thing that I did was grabbed the rectangle tool once again and created a line under each of the boxes so that I had somewhere to write on, and just duplicated those and dragged those down and made sure that they were equal. So for the bottom part of the printable, I just copied the checklist, as you can see, and created it and put it diagonally to the section that I just made so that it kind of gives off a cool effect. And then just did the same thing for the homework box. I duplicated that and then dragged it diagonally so that I would have another spot there. And I just aligned them up to make sure that they were all even together. And then I took the text tool and just put the titles that I wanted there. Like I said, making your own printable, it's awesome. You can choose whatever you want to put there. I decided to use the other checklist as a place where I could put who I needed to email. And then I used the other box as a menu / grocery list. So I wanted to add just a little bit of color, so I took the lasso tool and just made a crazy shape, as you can see. And I went to the pattern and added in this really pretty pattern that I found online, which I'll also link down below. I also added it underneath the things to do weekly planner title with just like a little line. And I also went in and created a new layer and wanted to like spice it up a bit and make it a little cute, and added some hearts just down below underneath the emails to write. This is up to you if you want to do this. Some people might need that extra space down below, but I just thought it was like really cute. So now you can see me going back in and changing the pink boxes that I created to the blue that I really liked. So now that you are completely done, you're going to want to save your printable planner. So whenever I make this, I always save it 2 different ways. The first way is as a Photoshop file. I do this just in case I want to go back in and change anything at any point. And then the second way is I save it as a PDF file so that I'm able to print it. So I always open up the PDF, and this is how I usually print it. I will then go to File, Print, and in the printer options, I always make sure to click on Scale to Fit, and then once you click on Scale to Fit, other options will show up to the right, and I click on Fill Entire Paper. You just want to make sure that nothing gets cut off and everything looks good, and then you are good to go. Thank you everybody for watching this. Hopefully it helped you in some way. I will link everything down below and also put the sizes just in case I went too fast at any point. But thank you all, and I will see you all in my next video.